Good morning, fellow traders. It's Black Coffee Trader. Today is Thursday, June the 12th, and it's time to do our daily trade plan of the day. We're going to get started today on the Dow Jones. I think the Dow Jones gives us an interesting perspective and a clear story. Look at what happened yesterday. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Yesterday, we bounced right up. This was in the New York session. Matter of fact, news yesterday morning. Bounced through the 200, the daily 200, and then we rejected the 200 in the afternoon. Very heavy rejection, clean rejection off the 200. That's this dotted line that's sitting here. The big daily moving average. We rejected that cleanly and came right back down. Remember a couple of days ago I talked about this channel that as ES and NQ have been breaking the previous high and then rejecting, breaking the previous high and rejecting. The Dow Jones has literally just been bouncing off the 42, well, you could say the 43,000, 42,970s, 960s. That has happened repeatedly, which was in the back of my mind thinking maybe this is a sign that this is going to reject. And what happened yesterday, we got the news. We got a push back up to that 43,153 and the daily 200 SMA, and we did reject off of that. Now, this morning, we are sitting in the pre-market. So last night we ended the day somewhere right here, and then we had a little push up in the after hours, and then we fell apart. We retested kind of the middle of this range, and we've fallen apart since then, and we are way below yesterday's low of day. So this to me is a very bearish sign. Now, this could be that we're just going to refuel, squeeze out some of the longs so that we can refuel for further upside. That is a potential. You also have the daily 20, this purple dotted line, and the daily 100, this yellow dotted line, that are starting to converge right around the 42,500 or 42,550s or 450-500 area. And you also at that point have this flip spot, if you will, at the 42,450s, which I have had on the charts for a while. You've had rejections coming in here, rejections turn that into support, and we have held above that. Are we coming down to test that level? If we do, that could be an excellent long opportunity. This could also mean that we're going to test this low of day from yesterday with the news today and this reaction back here on May the 28th, and get a rejection for further downside. So this is interesting. You've got the we're right in the middle of some of these big moving averages. I want to be careful shorting. That's why I put my arrow right here. If I take a short today, if news, this is all dependent on what happens to the news today, obviously, but if a short sets up off yesterday's low, you would want to short that into this area down here below, this support down below, and also these daily moving averages. Shorting into that and trying to hold for a move all the way into that would be dangerous. Obviously, scaling out of that move and possibly getting there. If we fall below, and a matter of fact, I almost want to make this a bright green line because I think this one's going to be pretty big, potentially. Again, this is not 500, good grief. This could, it's all of this is so dependent on the news today. We have what PPI news, I think, at 8:30 this morning. But if we get a flip below, this could be big and a very, very, very good short. So if we get something like this where we get a little bit of a break below and retest, that could be the short we would be looking for. So right now this thing is speaking bears, looking for shorts off yesterday's low, looking for shorts below these moving averages and below this 42,450. If we get a push back up, I think this area, this chop area, is a non-trade area for me today. I do not want to take anything within that. If we get a break above that, and once we get above that level, that's when I would be looking to take longs. I think ideally it might be safer. This is going to be a cautious long. I think the safest long would be if we break and retest above high of day yesterday. So we shall see. As well, if we get a push down into this support area around the 42,450s, that could set up a nice pullback long, which would be a break and a retest of that area to push that higher. So very clean, very clear on the Dow Jones Industrial, and maybe something to really pay attention to today, and maybe that's a lead on what this market is going to do as a whole. While we're over here on the screen, let's just look at the Russell. The Russell is a very clear picture, a very, very clean and clear picture. We rejected major rejections yesterday. This again is kind of a non-trade area from really yesterday's move, honestly. So if we trade up into yesterday's move, I may not be doing too much trading today. At least that's not the way it looks on the Russell and the Dow Jones. If we get a hold here of this level around the 130s, we've got some reactions coming in here. I'm on the 30-minute chart. I have to kind of zoom over. You can see we've got this one here, the 21 130s is a very good reaction spot, and also the 21 117s, and then we have this big one down here below at the 2078s. So if we get a pullback into this, right now we're kind of holding at this level, this right at the present, this should be a red rejection or a rejection spot, but we're going to leave it to see what happens here with the news. But this could set up a long. This one here could set up a long, and we could also be looking at a short right around this area at the 2139s. You could also short yesterday's low, but I think the better one would be to wait until we get something below 2139. Again, if you're taking shorts below the 2116s, 2117s, you're shorting into the daily moving averages here that have started to, they're probably going to cross today or tomorrow, possibly before the end of this week. But the daily 20 is the purple one, the daily 100 is the yellow one. They are sitting right here at this kind of key spot at the 20, almost at the 2100. So this is a cautious short. And this one here, if we flip below this big green line here around the 20,000 or the 2079s, that would be an excellent short. That could also set up a long. The thing is, you're then longing right back up into these major moving averages. This is kind of a cautious spot. Maybe I shouldn't even have this one on here. I'm going to leave it. This is one of these where if you take the shot, you really manage your risk and you get out if you're wrong quickly. Don't hold into a big losing position on this. If I take a shot here, it's got to go or we're getting out. So that's kind of how we play that. That's a bit of a danger area, but it's also an opportunity. But very much similar picture than what we see on the Dow Jones is this thing really is looking bearish this morning. Again, this all could be thrown out the window with the news that's coming out at 8:30. But by the same token, these levels do give us some points of reference to trade off of, and that's my trading strategy. That's what I do. I'll just go backwards across the screen. So we'll go to ES next. ES, we are right back down. Similar picture, just like we talked about on the Dow Jones and on the Russell. We rejected after yesterday's pop and came right back down. Interesting on ES, we are right into the same level, the 5995s, the 6004s, 6005s, this area we've talked about for quite some time. And notice how this is. If we lose this, in my opinion, if we lose the 5995s this morning, 5992s, whatever you want to call this, if we lose that area, we're probably going to push back down. Again, we've got some big moving averages that are starting to push up here, so that could get interesting. But there definitely is a short opportunity if that sets up below this bright line, which I've got at the 5995s. Also, the low of day from yesterday, you could say, well, if we get something off the low of day from yesterday, we've kind of lost this area of support here. I don't really want to short right into this little area. I want to wait until we get below this 5995. Which is this rejection area here turned into support, and so now that would be a rejection spot, and you're shorting into this major area right here. This is a big flip point as well with the 5975. So there's opportunity here, but also an area of caution. And again, I think as we've seen with this sideways market and what we really have seen in 2025, if you get a move, at least trading technicals like I do, if you get a move, if you get an opportunity, you get in, and if you're wrong, you just get out immediately. You do not hold through a big drawdown with hopes of, hey, maybe it corrects, because typically it simply does not. You either get in and it moves, or you get out. So couple of things to really watch for there. Basically, the big picture here I'm looking for is if we get something pushing back up above the low of day yesterday, I'd be looking for long somewhere above this major area. This you could almost have this as kind of a band, but this is a big major area. If we get something above that and we hold and we push back to the upside, that could be a nice long. And again, if we get up into these highs from the last couple of days into last week, around the 60.27s, that could set up a nice long as well. These areas here, I'm not really looking to trade off of these levels. These levels are here because they're kind of this stair step high. Typically, I don't put a level on my chart unless I'm trading it, but with the way this current market condition is, I want that as a reference. It could create a reaction, but I'm not looking for trades off that spot, if that makes sense. If we get a break and retest above the high of day yesterday, obviously we're going to look for take longs. I don't have that marked and charted, but I just know that. We're obviously going to be very much eyes wide open and kind of reassessing after the news comes out at 8:30. But as it looks right now, this looks bearish. But again, we could be refueling for a pushback to the upside. So eyes wide open on the market today. NASDAQ, it's very similar to ES. I think it's a little bit less clean, in my opinion. This big one down here below is something I'm really keeping my eyes out for. We've got huge rejections, and we've turned that into support. If we get a pullback to here, this is the 560s. If we get a pullback to there, like I talked yesterday, that would be a really nice pullback long. If we fail below that, you're shorting into the daily 20, which is catching up to price here, sitting right here at the 21,500s. But that could be setting up a really nice short. Right now, again, this thing does look bearish. If we get a move up to the low of the day yesterday, that's typically a short that I would take. I'm not looking to take that right now. I don't really want to look to take shorts on the NASDAQ until we lose this area right here. There's a big area sitting right here on the 720s. If we lose the 720s, I almost want to move this down. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to use this low of the overnight session right now as a reference. But if we lose the 720s, that sets up a short. If we get something down in here, that could set up a nice pullback long. And if we get something, a hold off of this level, that could push us back higher. So there are definitely, again, there's some opportunities here. We have to reassess after the news. If this news pushes us down, then we look for some of the reactions here and make decisions on what we should do. And if the news pushes us higher, then obviously we look for different things. And again, if we get something above, we look to take a long above the high of day yesterday and this 22,000, call it 100 area, if we do get that. So this has been difficult. This channel right here has been very difficult, and I think that's one of the big things I want to keep in mind today, and really in the near future here, is just to really be cognizant of that fact that if I get a setup, take it, keep the wrist tight, and if you're wrong, you just get out and you look for the next one, and work on trying to capitalize on positive trades. So and the other thing worth noting is not taking a trade is a position in the market. You're not in the market. And I really had to think about, I think there was a take profit email that stated that the other day. I really thought that was so good. Sometimes we get sucked into feeling like we have to take trades, and you really don't. Not taking a trade is sometimes the best trade. So keep the eyes open today. Again, big news here at 8:30. So take a look at that and then make decisions accordingly. But obviously the levels are the levels, and we're going to trade them as we see opportunities present themselves today, if they do. All right, I'll leave you with that. Have a good trading day. Take care. Be careful out there. Have a green day. Take care, and so long.